Hi guys. I'm back. Hopefully this is where the sound is coming from. Hopefully. I don't know. Let me see. It's not muted. Okay. Let me see what this is. What's this button do? It mutes me. Don't push that button. Oh my gosh. Okay. I just ran in the door from grocery shopping and I snag on my nail. I just ran in the door from grocery shopping and starting some broth because we have sickness in the house. I actually did not make it over to the Chicagoland meetup because I started feeling sick. So I came home early. I went to Dr. Boz's brains course that she offered in Pella, Iowa. That was fantastic. Hi, Kim. I woke up the second day, the last day, with a little bit of a headache. I didn't think much of it because I was like, I've been traveling and not getting enough sleep and wasn't feeling good. Woke up with a little bit of a headache and then my throat started to hurt. So I messaged my husband. I was like, what's going on? And he goes, yeah, me and the kids are sick. I said, okay. So I just sat there away from everybody. I was like, don't touch me. I may have germs. So, but then I left. And right afterwards, I didn't say hi to anybody afterwards. I didn't say goodbye. I just left. It's like, I'm going to go just in case. So, hi, Sherry. Hi, Chrissy. Hi, Kim. Hi. Oh, Keto Hunters. Hi, Robin. Hi, Blaze. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be home. I'm so done traveling. I'm so done traveling. It's hard to adjust your diet and try something new when you're traveling. I'm so glad to be home. So let me see. What am I doing? Okay. Something is out there. Brother works for Olive Garden and caught something. And of course, brought it home 2 days. I think I'm on the mend. Yeah, it's like for us, it's a headache. My throat hurt. It's not strep. I'm a carrier of strep. It's impossible for it to be strep. I carry it and I give it out to everybody. I'm very kind and I share. So it's not strep. Yeah, I have not had a test for the thing that shall not be named. I left my water downstairs. Oh, that is so sad. I'm just not going to leave the house. So I wasn't going to do any other testing for anything else. It's okay. Took a 9-day road trip. Eating carnivore was a challenge. Actually made it work. I'll preface with this, and then you guys can tell me what you want me to talk about. Hi, Patty from Oregon. I can totally do carnivore on the road. That's nothing. What is with this? Oh, I know what it is. It's raining, and I went outside in the rain. So carnivore can totally do it on the road. Not a problem. It's Dr. Boz's recommended plan that I am doing right now. That's different. That is very different. I did Dr. Boz's plan 3 years ago when I first went keto. And it worked great. And then I thought it was too simple. And surely I was missing things. So I went off of it and went to other things. Yeah, I'm going back to that. It's been amazing so far. I'm down 2 pounds. Yeah, I'm already down 2 pounds. I was beginning to gain weight and, having so much pain since I have been following. Oh, no, shush. Since I have been following what she recommends, I've been doing it for a week. I think a week. I need to go back and look. I texted Miss Emily Penton, one of my sweetest friends. She's doing this journey with me. And so we've been texting each other our what everything is doing, what we're eating, how it's going. Yeah, so that's been really fun. I'm trying to look back. 1 week, 2.5 ketones. So that's what I was going to ask you guys. Hi, Marty, by the way. Hi, Don. What do you guys want me to talk about? I can talk about what I'm doing now with my eating plan. I've actually had a couple of people recently ask me why I think plants are so evil. And I gave a whole speech about that and evolutionarily why I think that they're evil, because there's actually a scientific reason as to why I think plants don't work for us. I told this person and I went, huh, wow, that was like a wisdom nugget right there. I wasn't even ready for that myself. Are my lights on? That one's on. That one's on. Oh, that one's turned the wrong way. That's why. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay. I've been told to divulge. Okay. Oh, I don't have. Someone's messaging me. Lots of people are messaging me right now. I should tell them, come get on. You know what? Someone just messaged me and said, hi, what are you doing? I'm going to message her and say, I'm on YouTube live right now. About to talk about it. Come join me. Oh my gosh. This is why, honestly, it's one of the reasons I do the YouTube lives, because then I can address a lot of stuff all at once. Hi, Rebecca Scott. Hi. Very welcome. Hello. I'm happy to have you here. Even though you're new, hang on. I'm gonna mute this so I can yell at my husband. Hey, babe. Can you bring me my keto mojo? Okay. I yelled at my husband because I do that. Woo. Plants definitely do not like me. I could eat a few fruits, but their sugar does not like me either. And my husband's yelling at me now. I can explain to you why the sugars do not like some people as well. I learned that. Okay. So I am going to start talking a lot. My mute didn't work. Oh, that's hilarious. Everyone got to listen to me yell at you. So I have been doing a lot of, it's not muted now, right? No. Okay. A lot of different things. And if you guys look back at my YouTube channel, you can see when I was the healthiest. You can see when I looked the thinnest. My skin was glowing. I had energy out the wazoo. Nothing hurt. You can look back and see. And that point in time was just before I started doing the protein sparing modified fasting. And I really, truly did not equate the two. I did not think that my health and my roosters are never muted. Oh my gosh. I know. And my window's open. I could turn the gain down a little bit, but then you guys have to tell me if you can still hear me. Hang on. It's fancy. I don't know how to do this. It's fancy. Okay. 1, can you still hear me? Or am I too quiet? So give me a thumbs up if I'm good, or say too quiet. And then you can still hear me. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Hopefully you won't be able to hear the roosters then, because I turned down the gain by a quarter. So, okay. So you can look back and you can see when I started gaining weight, when I started losing energy, when I actually started to age. I began aging. You could see that I was aging. And I've noticed that you can't tell as much with the makeup on, but in the morning, I'll wake up and I'll look at myself in the mirror and go, oh, damn, everything's going in reverse. My pain is ridiculous. At least it was. It's way better now. way better. I will divulge, I promise. I'm kind of waiting to see if Jenny gets on because Jenny is messaging me. So I'm okay, good. You made it. I wasn't going to say anything until you got here. So my pain was getting worse. My autoimmune got triggered. I went up almost.
Why are you getting so violent and yelling at me?
Because I love yelling at you. Thank you. I love you.
And that's my keto mode.
It is yours. I stole yours because I lost mine.
You gotta keep track of yourself better.
I love that, man. So you can see that I was going downhill, and which like literally makes no sense because that's around the time that I kind of went back to carnivore. And could you hear that rooster as well as the other ones or not as well? Let me know. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Maybe it's, okay, it must be I got seed oil cross contamination. It must be the stress. It must be something else. And not too bad. Okay, cool. I know you don't mind the roosters, but I figured I'd play with it a little bit because if I'm recording for like a podcast or something, it's good to know. I'm kind of using you guys as tech support right now. So hello. There's a stool. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I thought maybe I'm eating too much fat. And so I upped my protein even more. And I just slowly been getting worse and worse over the last like 6, 7, 8 months. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I went to the Metabolic Health Summit and Dr. Boz was there. And I love Dr. Boz. Like I adore her. And she was there. And so I got a picture with her and I was like, would you come onto my channel? That'd be really cool. So she was like, yeah, sure. So she came onto my channel and we recorded. We talked for a hot minute before and a hot minute after. We spent a lot of time on Zoom talking together before I hit the record and after I hit the stop recording button. And Blaze, I won't argue if you do that. I said something about, hi, Gloria. I said something about, it's like I've got autoimmune and possibly Lyme disease. And, I'm trying to figure out, I'm getting testing and expensive testing. Like tests are ridiculous, y'all. They really are crazy. And she just kind of sat there for a second. And she said, I'm actually not a huge fan of testing. She said, because it doesn't really matter what the diagnosis is. The treatment is the same. And I went, wait, what? She was like, you gotta get into ketosis. Oh yeah, well, I eat carnivore. I'm in ketosis. And she kind of grinned and she goes, probably not. Because if you're in ketosis, then your insulin is low, and then it would be impossible to gain weight. Wait a second. And then your inflammation should be low. So there's 2 books. Keto Carnivore Chief, put one of them in there, Keto Continuum. And this is the first book, Any Way You Can. This is Dr. Boz's mom's story of fighting cancer. She fought cancer for 10 years. It had moved into her bone marrow. It's called CLL. Stands for something long. I don't remember right now. And so this is how she ends up extending her mom's life way longer than she was given to survive by using ketosis. Now, I am 100% guilty of saying, oh, well, I eat carnivore. I'm in ketosis. I was not in ketosis. I was 100% not in ketosis. So what constitutes you being in ketosis? Your insulin has to be low. Unfortunately, we can't go out and just measure our insulin whenever we want to. There's no insulin meters yet. I'm sure that they're coming, probably eventually coming. They're not here yet. So I started taking my ketones and my blood sugar again. And at first I thought, thank you, chronic leukotic leukemia, not certain of the spelling. Yeah. Yep, that's it. So I started taking my ketones, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to check my ketones. My ketones are, oh, you know what? Let me pull this up. So this is my Keto Mojo. I'm not going to do it right now because I just ate. So I'm not going to be in ketosis right now. So this is the Keto Mojo, and here are the strips that go with it. Y'all know me. I'm not big on chasing things, chasing numbers. Ketone strips, glucose strips. So what you do is you take both. You're going to take your glucose and you're going to take your ketones. And to get something that's called the Dr. Boz ratio, and she's not being like uppity when she, makes her Dr. Boz ratio. Oh, follow my ratio. Actually, she did it so that her ailing mother was able to check whether or not she was in ketosis. Her mom, extremely sick, in the hospital or just after surgeries or feeling absolutely horrible, battling cancer with all of her chemotherapy treatments. She needed something very simple. She didn't want to convert our units from standard into metric, and she didn't want to mess with all that. So Dr. Boz took one unit, which is the glucose, which is always going to be the higher number, and then you're going to simply divide it by the lower number, which is going to be your ketone number. They're speaking different languages here. But what she did is that she made a chart, a graph, to tell you what that number means. And that is what tells you whether or not you're in ketosis. It's not just how many ketones you have in your system. It also has to do with how much insulin is in your system. Because it is impossible for you to be in ketosis when you have high insulin. Well, all of us, me included, are going, I don't eat carbs. I don't have high insulin. So I go to take my very first day. I record with her on the computer, and I'm like, I'm going to go back to, doing Dr. Boz's way of doing it. But I'm positive that I am in ketosis. So I'm going to check, and I have it. I'm just pulling up my Keto Mojo actually has an app. You can't see it very well, but they have an app that you can check. So I go to check it. Now, the lower the number, the better. 0 to 20 on Dr. Boz's ratio. That rooster is ridiculous. 0 to 20 is like cancer fighting. Like, this is intense autophagy. Anywhere from like 20 to 40 is a very strong, good chance of autophagy. That's going to be cleaning up a lot of your cells, getting rid of your excess skin, cleaning up organs and things like that. 40 to 80, now it depends on the person, is generally where the weight loss happens. Now, obviously anything underneath that, you could attain weight loss. Unless you are at your ideal body weight, then your body doesn't give up any more weight. So it's not guaranteed to make you lose weight. This being in ketosis actually helps you to get where you should be. So I take my very first Dr. Boz ratio the day after I get off with her. Hang on, I'm gonna do it again. It was no, that's the wrong number. Okay. So I go to do it the very first day, and I'm like, I'm a carnivore. I didn't eat anything. I mean, I had some coffee and I had some spices yesterday, and I'm like, I'm in ketosis. I'm sure I'm in ketosis. It's ringing in the back of my head. You can't gain weight if you're in ketosis because your insulin is low, and insulin is the one that causes you to store fat and causes you to gain weight. I'm like, okay, so then why? I can't put 2 and 2 together. Why am I gaining weight? Because I'm in ketosis. I'm a carnivore. Or, I mean, ketovore at the very most lax. There's no way. So that morning I took my glucose. It was 96. It's not supposed to be that high. Ever. It's really not supposed to be that high. Normal is between like 65 and 75. Not supposed to be that high. My ketones are 0.5. And I'm like, see, I'm in ketosis, 0.5. Here's where the magic happens. This is the part that everyone has been leaving out. This is the key. And I'll talk about not wanting to stick yourself. This is where like the rubber meets the road. This is the piece that we're missing. We're not putting the 2 together. When you put the 2 together, it tells you what your insulin is doing. So remember I said 80 and below is weight loss. So I took 96 and divided it by my ketones, which are 0.5. That gives me a Dr. Boz ratio of 192. That's why I'm not losing weight. I'm nowhere near the 80 and below. Or for some people, it's 60 and below. For other people, it's 40 and below before you start losing weight. I'm nowhere near that. 192. I'm like, well, darn. So, okay, it's time to binge. I start binging on all of her stuff. I bought both of her books on Audible. I bought both of her books in person so that I can, well, no, that's not true. I bought this one, which is the workbook. That one I bought for in person, and then I listened to this on Audible. And then I bought this one. I actually listened to this one second. Not sure why. I think starting with this gives you a fantastic foundation. Like she says in here, if you have cancer, listen to this book. If you look down and you can pinch fat around your midsection, listen to this book. If you're tired, listen to this book. If you have depression, listen to this book. Like it covers the whole everything. The book, I love the books. I love the books. This book was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So she goes through, there's pictures and diagrams. She goes into the science of everything. Now, one thing I want to point out before I continue on to how did I go from a Dr. Boz ratio of 192 to a Dr. Boz ratio of 22? I will get there. I will tell you because I achieved 22 all on my own just the other day while traveling nonetheless. But I did it. So one thing I want to preface with, why should anybody listen to Dr. Boz? Why? Like, is there any real reason to? She's just another person, right? Do you guys remember the show House, where people would come in and they would get super, super sick and they wouldn't know what was wrong, and it took this guy to figure out what was wrong with them? He's based on an actual real life doctor. This real life doctor is what they call an internist. They practice internal medicine. Now, we could get into the politics of the show, but internists, internal medicine doctors, are the ones that come into the ICU because the patient is dying and nobody has any idea what's wrong with them. They have to figure it out. They have to piece it together. That is what internists do. They become neurologists, nephrologists, cardiologists. They can take their broad, overreaching knowledge and then hone it into one area. Dr. Boz happens to really like brains. That's actually what the Pella, Iowa was brains and addiction. So one other thing that she said, I think she might have said it in one of the books, is that being an internal medicine practitioner, she asks herself every single time before she does anything, She says, if I give this patient this protocol right now, what are the ramifications going to be in 20 years? That is what she asks herself. And she's very, very meticulous about what she does. She researches the snot out of everything. She finds concrete scientific evidence to back up everything that she believes in. And a lot of that is because it saved her mom's life. It prolonged it for as long as was possible. And so for her to say anything, you kind of listen a little bit more because you're like, yeah, you kind of do know what you're talking about, don't you? Yeah, okay. So when I said, oh, I'm a carnivore, yeah. No, probably not in ketosis. And I really didn't think that there was that big of a deal about being in ketosis. I now know 100% it's a big deal to be in ketosis because now I have gotten myself back into ketosis through some processes, which I will get to that too. And I feel so much better. I'm actually, y'all, I'm going through keto flu. Yeah, because I was that far out of ketosis. And enough of my cells weren't using ketones for fuel. So the real question would be, how on earth is that possible if all I'm eating is protein and fat? How is it possible to not be in ketosis when you're eating nothing but protein and fat? Is the book about her mom the really important one? I think it is. I think that this one, any way you can, start here. I think that this is the best book to get your foundations with. The Keto Continuum goes into the next guy's story. The Keto Continuum is actually after her mom passed away when she reads it in Audible. But start with number 1, move to number 2. So the question is, how on earth can we eat carnivore or can we eat keto? How could we be eating keto and not be in ketosis? Y'all, I'm going to step on some toes. I'm going to make some people upset. And it's not even me. I'm just regurgitating what I've been told and what I have found to be true myself by Dr. Boz. We're eating too much protein. I didn't want to believe it. I was like, no, we have to have a lot of protein. No, we have to have a lot of protein. We have to, right? The problem with protein is it raises your insulin, and more protein raises your insulin more and more and more. So what ends up happening is we end up running still on glucose because our insulin is too high for where it should be to digest, break down, deal with the protein. And when insulin is high, ketones are down. So what do? Well, we start taking our triglycerides, our fat, and we start snipping them. We snip the tails off of them, and we use the glycerol backbone, and we burn that as fuel. And she talks about that in this book. Any way you can. She goes through that. I knew you were going to say that. Heard from other people recently, just in YouTube comments. Yeah. Now, when I say we're eating too much protein, y'all, I am going on faith that this internist is not going to kill me. Because the amount of protein that I am eating, it's been drilled into me for the past year that you have to have more protein. You have to have more protein or you're going to die. You're going to waste muscle. You're going to XYZ. Thousands, tens of thousands of people are finding that that is not true. And that is honestly the biggest and the hardest part about this whole thing is weeding out the truth. And honestly, the only way for you to figure out if this is true for you is to try it. I have been in ketosis, and I'm not even going to say I've been keto because people have made the diet term inaccurate. I have been in ketosis for just over a week. My pain has gone down. My inflammation and swelling has gone down, and I've dropped 2 pounds. So I definitely think that there's something to it. Also, I can eat once a day and be perfectly fine. So Mary says, I'm going to assume that the recommendation of eating 100 grams of protein per 5 feet tall is too much. 100%. You are absolutely right. So Dr. Boz goes through her recommended amount of protein, and I will explain to you why we don't need, according to the science, why we don't need this much from my understanding. Okay? Now, she doesn't actually tell you why you don't need that much. This is what I have inferred and just my logical side. So if I'm wrong on this, it's all my fault. I will ask her to come on my channel again and we can talk more about protein. But so what she says in her book, and she even says, like, there's a whole section that says do not overconsume protein. So what you're going to do is you are going to take your weight in kilograms. If you don't know how to do that, if you don't know what that is, then for us over here in America, you would take your current, your desired body weight, not your current weight, your desired body weight. I'll do it. I'll do it right here. Okay, so let me pull up my calculator. My desired body weight, I'm going to call it 145. Okay, 145. And then you are going to divide that by 2.2. And that's going to give you about what you would be in kilograms. Okay, so that makes me 65.9. So like 66. That is the max number that you would use for your grams of protein every day. Max. And she says you can go under, that's fine, but don't go over. Now, this is a starting place. There will be some people who are able to get into ketosis with higher amounts of protein and stay in ketosis, but she was very specific. She said that she has to stay pretty low on her protein, otherwise it kicks her out of ketosis. So what you do, if you're in America, you take your desired body weight, and then you divide that by 2.2. That gives you your desired body weight in kilograms. Now, I'll try to remember that. And then that's the number of grams that you would want to max out on. So it seems like a ridiculously tiny amount of protein. Richard and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. We were really having a hard time wrapping our heads around the fact that everyone's saying you should eat 1 gram of protein to 1 pound of lean body mass. Grams and pounds are 2 different measuring units, and generally you don't mix the two. Like, there have been space shuttles that have blown up because we used metric and standard measurements. Like, you don't cross the two. And so I've heard Dr. Berry say, and now I've heard Dr. Boz say, it's 1 gram of protein per kilogram of desired body weight max. Like, don't go above this. And I was just like, how on earth could this possibly be right? We're going to waste our muscle. All these things are going to happen. And then listening to her books, watching some more videos, it hit me. That's what autophagy is for. It is literally to recycle your proteins. If you're recycling your proteins, then you don't need to continually put more and more and more and more in. And if the goal is to be in ketosis, grams, not milligrams. And if the goal is to be in ketosis, ketosis is what fights cancer. It's what gets rid of autoimmune conditions. It is what gets rid of depression. That's why when I was keto in the beginning and eating super high fat, I was able to get off all of my medications. Even though I was eating the dangerously poisonous plants, I was eating copious amounts. I was using those plants to get fat into my body. Amanda says, okay, I needed this, was losing my mind watching my blood sugar and weight go up eating carnivore. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so I had one other lady. Robin says, is that only for people who are dealing with weight gain, autoimmunity, or everyone? Everyone. Like everyone. What about kids that are still growing? More protein for them? Maybe more, but not as much. Like, do not stress about it. They need fat. And the basis of her education is that if you eat enough fat, you will balance your fat-based hormones. How many people are eating carnivore? They've lost their cycle. They have all of these other, all these other issues, the weight gain, the mental fog, the exhaustion, you name it. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of people that are like, I'm carnivore, I'm eating the healthiest thing possible. But if you're not in ketosis, you're not going to be able to get the healing benefits that you need. All of your sex-based hormones come from cholesterol. All of them. So if you're not eating enough fat, and this is the kicker, this is the really, really, really hard part. This is where calories don't count comes in. This is the area that we've all been saying, but we've been applying it to protein as well as fat. When in fact, calories do matter when it comes to protein. I can prove that. And I bet you there's a bunch of people over here in my chat box that have proved it too. Because eating copious amounts of meat is not working. We are getting worse. And we don't understand why. Like, we're being told that there's no reason for this to be happening. Oh, your body will catch up. So the key is to keep your protein in your little pocket. You can experiment later. Don't worry about it right now. Just keep it in that little pocket. Even if you ate that low of protein, super low protein for 3 months, it's not going to kill you. It really won't. Then what you do is you fill up the rest of your food with a max of 20 grams of protein. 20 grams of carbs. So your protein, your 20 grams of carbs, and then you eat fat until you're full. That is the only macronutrient that you can eat until satiated. And guess what? I did it. Oh my gosh. I have never, ever, ever been so full that I wanted to puke. I did it like 3 days ago. Finally, I got there. I also asked her about dairy because dairy is evil, but dairy has a lot of fat in it. So how are we supposed to get all of this fat in without dairy? And she goes, are you allergic to dairy? And I said, no. And she said, is it affecting your numbers? Are you able to get into ketosis if you eat dairy? And I said, yes. She goes, enjoy. There's no reason for you not to eat it. If it's not causing you inflammation, if it's not, she was like, being in ketosis is an anti-inflammatory state. And a lot of times it's interactions between other things. And if you can get your fat in and your hormones are getting up to where they should be, including your immune system, then it can handle all those little inflammations from dairy and things like that. She's like, try it. She goes, show me your numbers. Her answer to everything, can I have this? Can I do this? Show me your numbers. Show me your numbers. That's her answer for everything. Show me your numbers. So on this trip, the other thing she tells you should eat every single day. This is going to also probably ruffle some feathers. 1 can of sardines in oil. But that's probably an inflammatory seed oil. It says olive oil, but I bet you that it's cut with something and it's going to have inflammation. It's going to cause issues. Guess what? If your body's in ketosis, those little bitty bits of those inflammatory oils could be a lot easier to handle, because I've been eating sardines in oil and I am ridiculously sensitive to seed oils, and not a single time have I had a problem with any one of the cans of sardines in oil. So, oh yeah, liverwurst, knock out the liverwurst. Liverwurst and sardines are her two favorite top foods, like her two top foods. But you have to track the protein. 20 total grams of carbs a day. You got to track your protein, and then fat you're going to want to load up on. So, examples of fat. Now, a lot of these do have protein in them too, which is why you have to track. Like, you have to track to get an idea of what you're going to do. But would be egg yolks, butter, ghee, tallow, bacon grease, all the stuff that we usually talk about. You're going to want to also include heavy whipping cream and, excuse me, coconut oil and MCT oil. MCT oil is really like your super friend right now. Reason being, there's a special little trap door in your stomach, in your intestines, that opens up and lets medium chain triglycerides and short chain triglycerides through. And they go directly over to your liver and they get converted into ketones very, very, very quickly. Whereas the longer chain fatty acids, such as like butter and 85% of coconut oil, those are going to take a few hours to work through your whole digestive system before they end up in the liver, converting over to ketones. So when you're first starting and you're first trying to get into ketosis, it's perfectly acceptable to cheat. You can use MCT oil. You want to look for MCT C8, C10. Those are the perfect length medium chain triglycerides that can get through that trap door, but they're long enough that they're going to make a decent amount of ketones and they're going to last you a little while. So the MCT C8, C10, and then sacrilege, y'all, I feel like such a hypocrite. I'm drinking ketones too. I always check my numbers before my ketones. I never check afterwards because it's affected. I haven't brought myself to do that yet. I always check before I have anything, any food, any ketones. But what it does is when you have ketones flooding your body, then it triggers your body to go, we like these. We should make more. We should make more of these. Let's make more. And it kind of jumpstarts your system into, oh, I'm so glad you asked that, Robin. It jumpstarts your system into making more ketones. You don't have to use them forever. If you're having a really bad day, if you have a test, use some ketones. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm learning the science behind everything. And I love the science behind everything. Okay. So for an example meal, and I'm eating one meal a day right now. And I'm getting anywhere from 1,700 to 2,000 calories. I know I'm going to answer the collagen thing. You will probably be very surprised. She actually talked about that at the Brains Summit. I will get there. I promise. If I forget, remind me. So I'm eating one meal a day. And for me, that is ridiculously hard. You guys know that I don't do one meal a day. And I get all the way through absolutely no problems. So I start off, depending on when you want to have your meal, I prefer to eat in the morning. That's because it gives my body all day to use all the energy that I have done. And then when I'm starting to get hungry again, I go to bed, because then it helps you fast even longer. Although lately I haven't had any problems with that. But if you go to bed when you're getting a little bit hungry, it'll take you over, and then you can make it all the way through the night. And then I get to wake up and have my coffee, which she loves coffee. Fantastically, giant fan of coffee. Coffee is fantastic. She recommends when you're first starting, now for carnivore keto people, it could be a little bit different. Fatty coffee, extremely fatty coffee. very, very fatty coffee. So I drink 1 to 2 of my fatty coffees. I have upped it to 1.5 tablespoons of butter, 1.5 tablespoons of coconut oil, 1 whole egg. I'm still doing the egg white in there. I like the frothiness of it. And then 1/4 teaspoon of salt, maybe a little bit less than that, like 1/8 to 1/4. The sweetener, I can take it or leave it. Some days I feel fancy, some days I don't. Doesn't really matter. So it's just kind of a, flip of the dice. 1 to 2 of those every single day. And my fatty coffee, that gives me like 300 calories right there of mostly fat. Then I make the egg yolk waffles and I slather those with butter. I will eat those or I will use them for a burger. For my protein macros, I can have 1 1/4 pound burger patty. I put 2 slices of cheese on it, 2 tablespoons of my coconut oil mayonnaise, a tablespoon of the ketchup. I'll add a pickle on there and I'll add a thing of leaf lettuce. I actually just had that today for lunch. Let me look at my app. I'm also trying to learn Chronometer. She prefers Chronometer because it's lab verified. Nothing goes in here. You know how with the Carb Manager, you can put in your own stuff? None of that's verified. Chronometer will not put it in there until it's been verified by several sources. That's why she prefers it. And it tracks your micronutrients. So if you are a very sick person, she needs to be able to see all of those micronutrients. So I am learning all about Chronometer. I'm like, okay, time to figure this one out now. New challenge. Okay, so this morning I had 2 fatty coffee recipes. That's 600 calories. 1 thing of yolk waffles, which was 2 yolks, a tablespoon of butter, a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and like 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Chronometer, I'm using the free version right now. It's free. I do not have issues with tons of butter and coffee, but cut it out to extend my fasting period. So she talks about that. You can just do black coffee in the morning to stretch it out. Salted black coffee, I actually did that. I actually handled it. It was fine. I was completely amazed. Anyways, then I had my burger, 80% lean. You want to get the fatty stuff. I had 2 pieces of cheese, which aren't, oh yes, there they are. 2 slices of cheese, the mayonnaise, that, and then I put another raw yolk on top of my burger. So I put it into a little bowl. I separated it out, put it in the microwave for 7 seconds, and I warmed it up and I put it on my burger so that it oozed everywhere. It's free, but the gold version is the only way to break down most of each meal. True. And it's only, I think, like $20, whereas the other one was more. So I think Chronometer is actually cheaper and much more in depth. Some of her training videos that I'm doing, I'm taking one of her modules. The guy, the CEO of Chronometer, gets onto these videos with Dr. Boz and answers questions and talks to people. So you can message them, you can email them and say, hey, why is this like this? Why is there carbs in coffee? I know why there's carbs in coffee now. They included that because if the dregs of the coffee have gotten through your filter, the fiber is going to be in those beans. And that is where, or fiber from your coffee filter as well. That is where the fiber, where the carbs are coming from in coffee. I was like, I had no idea. Because if it's without all of that, there would be such a teeny tiny little amount of nothingness. So that is all I have had today so far. I was going to keep eating, but then I needed to go to the grocery store and then I needed to come up here. So I'm actually going to go make myself some ice cream in a little bit. Yesterday, I ate really late. I ate throughout the day. We were in the car all day. So I ate and then we got home and then I ate again at 9 o'clock at night. I had my the yolk waffles with butter. And I thought, there's no way I shouldn't even bother checking my ketones this morning. There's absolutely no point. Just no reason. So then this morning I woke up and I checked my ketones. My glucose was a beautiful 72 and my ketones were 2.3. 72 divided by 2.3, giving me a Dr. Boz ratio of 31. Even after I ate late last night. But what I ate was mostly fat. Almost no protein. I am 100% doing a video. Robin, thank you. Yes, collagen. Collagen. Yeah. Collagen is honestly not part of my menu anymore. One, it's a lot of protein to lose in a drink because you don't get much. Number two, particle size matters. What does that mean? The tinier the protein, or say the rice flour, is broken down, the faster it raises your insulin. This is why many people say, oh, don't use whey protein, it spikes your insulin. That's why it spikes your insulin, because the particle size of the protein itself has been broken down so tiny, it's rapidly absorbed by your system and it shoots your insulin up, almost like carbs do. Yeah. I was like, well, darn, that's fantastic. I'm actually working on, so Sherry, we got to get rid of the egg whites. Now we got to get rid of the egg whites. I am working on a couple of ice creams that use coconut milk and coconut cream. I'm going to start doing the heavy cream too. I'm going to do half and half. Dr. Boz in this book has a recipe for ice cream. I don't know if I can find it because I listened to it and I was driving. Oh, by the way, all in the back, there's pages and pages and pages. There we go. Of references. All of this is to back up all of the studies and all of the things that she says. It's not just her opinion. There's scientific stuff behind it. Like, did you know that the Navy SEALs are supposed to be in ketosis before they go diving? Yeah, because they began having, she talks about it in here, they began having seizures when they were using their rebreathers. Now, if you're a Navy SEAL, you cannot have regular scuba gear on with the bubbles going up because it kind of gives away your position. So you can't do that. So when they're using these rebreathers, they noticed all of their Navy SEALs started having seizures. So what do? Of course, you give them medication. That's what you always do when there's seizures, right? So they started giving all of these Navy SEALs the anti-seizure medications, and it dumbed them down. They were like stumbling and they were like, wait, what? Huh? They couldn't think right. They couldn't problem solve. They couldn't, like, their cognitive functions had declined by a decent percentage. That's not going to work. So through research, they then took them on a ketogenic journey, a ketogenic diet, and began giving them exogenous ketones. And not only did the seizures completely stop, but their performance enhanced, because everything is better in ketosis. Babies are born in ketosis. So, like, the DOD is actually where Dr. Boz first learned about ketosis. The DOD is not paid for by Big Pharma. They don't care. They're going to put out what they're going to put out. They are not paid off. She talks about all in here. Absolutely fantastic. Let me see if I can find her recipe for the nope, for that. But yeah, so that is why we do not do protein powder, no collagen, none of that anymore, because the particle size matters. And she said that she noticed that when she used her protein powder, it would spike her insulin and it would kick her out. It was just too much protein for her. So she has to stay, because her ideal weight is 125. She says it in the book. I'm not telling you guys anything that she hasn't already said in the book. 125 divided by 2.2 is 56, maybe 57 if you round up. So that's it. But hers, it was like a quarter cup of coconut cream, a quarter cup of heavy cream, 4 frozen cubes of avocado, which I won't do because mine's getting screwy. The avocados are messing me up again. There's no video yet on Chronometer that I have made. I've heard that there are other ones. You can search YouTube and say how to use Chronometer. I will probably make a video on how to use Chronometer because I'm going to start promoting it now that I know that scientifically there's a good reason to promote that one. Let me see, the 4 cubes of avocado, 2 packets of Truvia, and then 2 tablespoons, I want to say, of cacao powder. And blend all that together and then turn it into an ice cream. I'm going to tweak it. I'm going to mess with it. I'm going to add some egg yolks to it as well. Raw egg yolks. And then I'm not sure. I'm going to mess with it. But that so far is, I think that's what it was when I listened to it. I mean, look at this. Look at this. There's charts. There's like so much stuff. There's a site that's loaded with free help. Yes. Chronometer, like I said, you just email them and go, I have no idea what I'm doing. And they'll help you. Need a plain vanilla version of the ice cream. I made one the other day that was like a maple Brazil nut. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Like it was ridiculously good. Okay, let me see. But yes, and she talks about the autophagy, about the super saggy skin. She said people that have lost hundreds of pounds and none of them have the super saggy skin because they're in ketosis. Their body is in a high state of autophagy and it is recycling. None of them have the saggy, flabby skin. I've got this. This is starting to, I'm like, oh, that needs to go away. Like that needs to go away. What's your recipe for coconut oil mayonnaise? So it's on my YouTube channel. It is, I just wrote it down the other day. I just did it the other day. It's 1 cup of coconut, the liquid coconut oil. And then I pasteurize the egg yolks. I do 3 egg yolks, 3 of my medium egg yolks. And I put them in 3 tablespoons of water and I mix it up really good. And then I microwave it 10 seconds, stir, 10 seconds, stir, 10, stir, 5, stir, 5, stir, 5, stir. And you get it up to about 150 degrees. And then that pasteurizes it. But what it also does for mine, it helps my mayonnaise thicken. So you're going to pour 1 cup of the liquid coconut oil, then that mixture of the egg yolks. It is a 1/2 teaspoon powdered mustard. Sorry, I'm scrolling and thinking at the same time. It may not work. A 1/4 teaspoon of Truvia, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 packet of True Lemon, but I used True Lime this last time because Sir Kensington's is actually my favorite mayonnaise and they use lime. So I was like, ooh, maybe that will be even better. Let me make sure. Did I get it all? Did I get it all? I just found it. Yes, that was everything. But it is on my channel. So you can go and watch the video. I show you how to do it. I send you over to Steve from Perfect Keto, who's the one who talks about pasteurizing the yolks. But that's what makes it all thicken. So I put it all into my Keto Chow mixer, my blender bottle. I put all of that down in the bottom, all of it, which is weird because normally you would never add the oil yet. You put it all in there. You put the immersion blender at the very bottom. Well, it's off. You put it at the very bottom. You turn it on and you very slowly lift it through the oil and it just turns into mayonnaise the whole way up. It's like magic. It's so cool. And then you can lick off the entire blender stick because it's so good. Okay, back to my example meal. So that's all I've had today is my burger and my 2 happy chickens, my 2 fatty coffees. Now, for yesterday, I only had 1 fatty coffee. Let me get to it. Okay, so I had 1 fatty coffee. I ate coconut cream directly out of the can because I wanted more fat. So I ate coconut cream directly out of the can and it was so good. And then I had a Strive biltong stick, which is actually pretty high in protein. that I dipped into the coconut cream in the can. We were in the car, so I was being creative. I ate one hamburger patty. We stopped at a Freddy's. First time ever I've had Freddy's. So stopped there, got one of their burger patties with 2 slices of my own cheese because they had American and I didn't want to mess with that. And then 2 tablespoons of my mayo, my ketchup. When I got home, I ate the yolk waffles super late. I literally sat there and chewed on a stick of butter. I did Spam. Let me see. I'm looking through the rest of my stuff, and I'm literally just like eating the same things over and over and over again. Barbecue pulled pork. I've done that. Let me see. I think that was one of the first days that I did it. So that's probably it. That is it. That is it. So that's a few ideas. Like, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't take much to get you to your protein. And then after that, it's how on earth do I deal with the fat? That's where the ice cream is going to come in. You're going to want to eat those ice creams. You can, in her book, she actually recommends that when you're first beginning this, she wants you to wake up in the morning and eat a stick of butter for breakfast. Because that pathway is almost never screwed up. The too much fat pathway is almost always working. So when you get to that point where you can't take another bite of butter, then you go, oh, that's that feeling. Okay, I got it. But that triggers your body to say, I'm full. This is what full feels like. It's been a minute. Okay, I got it. And then it can take you like 8 hours before you're hungry after that. And then when you're hungry, you eat. So when you're first starting, don't worry about when you're eating. Just worry about what you are eating. You will naturally get down to, it took me 3 days. And I was like, I'm eating once a day because I'm good. And for me, I really want to get down to, hi. Oh, I bet it was nice working in the yard. Mine's rainy. I really want to get down to a 4-hour eating window because I have healing to do. I've got autoimmune conditions that I need to work on, and possibly Lyme disease. Doesn't matter. The answer is the same. Get into ketosis. Yes. And in the book, she talks about this. I think, was it this book? It might have been this book. Anyway, you can. It might have been that one, but she talks about the fact that the leading cancer hospital in the country has started telling their patients, we won't treat you until you've been in ketosis for 2 weeks. That's what she said in the book. Because everything works better when you're in ketosis. Medications work better in ketosis. What's it called? Chemotherapy works better when you're in ketosis. All of it works better when you're in ketosis. So us saying, oh yeah, I'm a carnivore, I'm in ketosis. Y'all, I was proved wrong. I was proved so wrong. I was not in ketosis. I was gaining weight. I was obviously not in ketosis. Robin, I want to cry. This is exactly what I need. I have both books on Audible starting to listen. Yes, they're amazing. Didn't know you were live. Sorry, I missed meeting you yesterday. Yeah, I didn't come because I got not feeling good. And I was like, I don't want to, in case I don't want to do that. What are your thoughts on Jimmy Moore and being held for carnal knowledge? I was extremely shocked. I have friends in law enforcement, friends and family in law enforcement. He's being held for more than what some people are talking about. And honestly, I'm not shocked because, and this was legit some of what I learned at the Brains conference from Dr. Boz. Jimmy had a lot of trauma in his past, a lot of trauma. This is why a lot of these generational curses continue, because of things called mirror neurons. Mirror neurons. They see what someone is doing, and that is impressed more deeply into the brain than being told. You know, that whole saying, do as I say, not as I do. It doesn't work. It does not work. Very rarely are there the people who don't end up getting sucked down into that, because those mirror neurons are more potent and more powerful than when we hear something. We mirror what we have seen, and a lot of it is absorbed by the time you're like 6. So what he grew up with and what happened in his past, he's not gotten out of that. He's not gotten away from that. Now, it is possible to recover from things like that. It is absolutely possible, but it is a lot of work and it takes a lot of interventions. One of which would be to be in ketosis. Ketosis is not something that you generally stumble upon. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't know if you all remember a couple years ago, might have been years ago. I don't know. I remember Nisha was kind of playing around with the keto mojo. And she was like, oh, no, I don't chase my numbers. I don't anything. I just eat and I'm good. I don't really think I'm going to be much into ketosis, whatever. She took her blood sugar and her ketones. Her blood sugar was like in the 60s or something like that, 60s, 70s. Her ketones were like 5.1. She wasn't trying at all. But if we did that, let's go ahead and do those numbers. So let's say it was 70 divided by 5.1. She was in a range of 13, maybe 14. That's cancer healing. So she wasn't chasing. There's an ant on my ring light. Boy, buddy, you're an idiot. Boy, he dead now. She wasn't chasing the numbers, but she naturally found her pattern of eating that brought her into those numbers. So for everyone who says you don't have to chase numbers to get healthy, you're right. You don't have to chase numbers to get healthy. However, for many people, you have to get into ketosis to get healthy. I am 100% one of those people. Did I go somewhere? Oh, I went to Pella, Iowa to go see Dr. Boz. That's where I went. So I bet you $1 million, because they're saying eat fatty meat, eat fatty meat. Everybody is saying eat fatty meat. I bet you $1 million that all of these people who got healthy by just eating meat got themselves into ketosis. And that is what actually healed them. They don't live in ketosis. They don't stay there. Not everybody has to. Even Dr. Boz is like, I don't stay here all the time. I don't keep my ratio at 40. So if she wants to eat a little bit more protein, she can eat a little bit more protein, but she's healthy and healed and happy. So the fact that I have lost 2 pounds, like literally overnight. Yesterday I was 172. This morning I was 170. Done. I was like, okay, that must be an error. I stepped off. It wasn't an error. So I got back on again. I got back off. I got back on again. So what you would want to do for any meat that you're going to eat, you're going to want to eat the fattest, the fattiest meat that you can. Pork belly, ribs, rib eyes would be good, but you're going to have to measure to make sure that you don't go over on your protein. Now, this is not forever. It's absolutely not forever. Oh yeah, always add the butter. Add the butter. Totally fine. It's not forever. You will be able to go up on your protein later once you figure out how your body works. And you can go in and out of ketosis. That is perfectly fine. I am 5'8", or it's like 5'7 3/4. So I'm 5'8". I'm claiming it. I think my attitude makes up for the rest of it. So getting into ketosis is all about getting your fat high enough and your protein and your carbs low enough. And fat is what is going to heal you. So good question, Robin. If the carbs are 20, the protein for me is 64, how much fat do I need? As much as it takes to make you full. You're going to want a minimum, I would honestly say, of like 100 grams of fat, like at a very minimum. But you can go anywhere up to 200 grams of fat, 300 grams of fat, whatever your body wants. Because the fat pathway is generally not screwed up. It's generally not blocked. It'll tell you, if you don't stop, I'm going to make you hurl. Experienced that. It was real. So eat as much fat as you can on top of or with your meat. I mean, that would be good because then it blunts the insulin response just a little bit if you eat it together. If you eat the fatty meat, so the fat and the meat together, it does help. But it's getting creative with how do I get more fat in? So it's the super fatty coffee. You can push the coffee way off until later when you're going to eat. You can just eat everything in the morning. Marcy says, how are you figuring protein and fat macros? This book right here. No, ketones by breath does not really bring accuracy. No. Breath and urine are waste ketones. Blood is actual ketones. So how about too much fat causes diarrhea? She talks about that in the book. She says, here's the deal. If you get diarrhea from a high-fat diet, you need it more than most people, because those that get diarrhea from the higher fat diets generally are malnourished and deficient and are not absorbing any number of vitamins and minerals. So you need it more than almost anybody. So right now, I'm in the phase of don't trust the butt. I don't fart. I refuse to fart unless I'm sitting on the toilet because I don't know what's going to come out, which makes a whole lot of sense because I'm having to supplement my vitamin D because my vitamin D level is pretty darn low. It was like a 12 before I started supplementing years and years and years ago. So that would make sense. I bet you my B vitamins I'm probably not absorbing, all of these things. So she said, exactly, disaster pants. So she says those who get diarrhea on a high-fat diet are the ones that need it the most. And so you just got to push through. She also talks about the extreme importance of making sure to get on top of your magnesium. She talks about Epsom salt baths, going and doing a salt float at a spa, because it's just magnesium that you float in the water for like an hour and it sucks in, and it's so much better absorption, because if you take too much magnesium, then that's going to give you disaster pants as well. So figuring out your protein and your fat macros. Your protein is going to be a max. You are not going to want to go over on your protein. This is the complete opposite of protein sparing modified fast. Like, it's completely opposite. You're going to take your ideal body weight in kilograms, not in pounds. So whatever it is in pounds divided by 2.2, that number is your max protein. That's it for the entire day. That's it. You do not want to drink your protein like in a protein powder or in collagen, because those particle sizes are teeny tiny, and those are going to fly through your system very quickly, spiking your insulin. Insulin takes you out of ketosis. So right now, that is my entire world, and my entire focus is to be in ketosis, because I feel like a completely different person in ketosis. And I'm losing weight. I feel so much better eating 2,000 calories worth of fat. It makes no sense. Let me see. Okay, I'm relatively new to your channel. Do you do the keto chow shakes? I've seen a lot of channels this week, and that is why. I promote keto chow. I use their stuff for making all kinds of donuts and cakes and things like that, especially for my kids. I don't use them very often. I prefer whole foods. I feel better with whole foods. I use them as a tool. I would much rather have someone have a dessert that was made with keto chow than a traditional dessert. Absolutely no questions asked. I love the people at Keto Chow. I absolutely love them. The only problem is that most of those Keto Chow shakes are like 23 grams of protein in their on their own. You add the fat, yes, but again, particle size matters. So if you're drinking a protein shake, the particle size will raise your insulin. The goal is to be in ketosis as much as possible. It is not a must read for the first book before the second. This is the first book any way you can. This one, I really think you should start with this. The second one does get more sciencey. If you're into sciencey, binge. Totally enjoy it. Fantastic. But this one is very, very plain and simple. So according to Dr. Boz, the best magnesium is milk of magnesia, the laxative, the cheap one from the drugstore. And then you're going to want to take Epsom salt baths, like a 5-pound bag into your bathtub, like the whole thing. And then you want to sit there in hot water for 45 minutes because magnesium is one of the very few things that we can absorb through our skin. So that will replenish your magnesium store. So if you're having cramps, if you're having muscle twitching, if you are having the headaches, if you're having heart palpitations, all of those things can be due to the magnesium. So there's spas that have magnesium salt floats or float spas. Like, I don't even remember what it's called. I have to figure it out. You can Google it. And she said that 1 hour in one of those tanks is equivalent to 22 baths at home with a full bag of Epsom salt in it. So she recommends like 5 of those salt floats at the spa in like a week for very deficient patients. Otherwise, I do an Epsom salt bath every single night. Richard and I did one. We took the 8-pound bag because we have a pretty big tub. It's a bigger tub. So we dumped the entire 8 pounds in there. And then we took a bath, 45 minutes, hot water. I was like dripping trench sweat. Last night, I didn't have any leg cramps. And I take magnesium glycinate at night. And she never, ever talks about any, get this supplement, get this supplement. She's like, drink milk of magnesia. It works better. And do the Epsom salt stuff. It works better. I would do the bath if I was able to get out of the tub. We'll have to wait on that for now. I wonder if you'd be able to go to one of the spas because it's like this big round tub and it's only 8 inches of water. I wonder. You need a walk-in tub. That's what you need. Get yourself a walk-in tub. You said you had something to say regarding not wanting to stick yourself. So you don't have to. What she did with her mom for the first 8 months was actually just peeing on ketone sticks. And granted, that doesn't tell you what your Dr. Boz ratio is because it doesn't tell you what your blood glucose is. But for the very beginning, if you just want to get into ketosis and you're not super obsessed with the Dr. Boz ratio and you don't want to get everything like me, I've got autoimmune, I've got possible Lyme disease, so I have to get the test done. But I have reasons to be in a deeper state of ketosis. If you don't have reasons to be in a deeper state of ketosis, then don't worry about it. Just pee on the ketone sticks first thing in the morning. And the darker you get it, the more ketones you're making. And that's honestly good for a lot of people. You're going to pee on those throughout the day because they're really not bad. Spices are okay to use. Plants are okay to use. Like whatever plants you can consume as long as they are within 20 total grams of carbs a day, because all plants have carbs in them. So it's going to restrict how many vegetables you're able to eat. But she goes into, in this book right here, she goes into how many carbs are in certain, veggies, and this is this range, and 20 total carbs. We're only doing total. We're not doing net. So spices are totally fine, but you got to track them because they do have carbs in them. Foot bath we'll also have to do for now. Yes, foot baths are totally fine too. She actually talks about that. And yes, there is oxalates in a lot of the plants, some of the plants that she recommends. However, you're eating a smaller amount of these because we're counting total carbs. And so if you're only going to 20 total, it doesn't leave you a whole lot. So, and some people handle oxalates just fine. And if you're in ketosis, maybe you detox them better too. So that's a possibility. I used to use milk of magnesia to wash my face. It was said to give you a superior complexion. Is that why you're so shiny? So you're glowing. I do have kids with serious mental issues and major depression. I just hate the idea of bloodletting every morning as part of the treatment. So what I do, I can show you guys if you want me to. My numbers are not going to be fantastic right now because I just ate and I didn't drink my ketones either. Someone asked me what ketones I use. I actually use Dr. Boz's ketones. And then someone from my Mighty Network sent me some other ketones, and I've used those. I thought that they were fine. There's a couple of people I'm trying to get affiliates with from the Metabolic Health Summit, and they have ketone esters. Those things are like serious. Man, do they work? But they work. So you can supplement any of those. It's recommended to kind of sip on them throughout the day. But yeah, so I can show you guys if you want me to. I don't know how well the P sticks and the CGM would work. Yes, because it's an estimate of how many ketones are in your urine. And remember, your urine is your wasted ketones. The blood is what is actually active in your blood. So how much you're peeing out doesn't tell you how much is actually in your system, in your blood system at the moment. What's in your blood is there's only so much of it that it can handle before you start peeing out the extras, which is actually kind of cool. If you're keying out ketones, you're actually peeing out like fat energy. So talk about a weight loss diet, right? Does Dr. Boz talked about adrenal fatigue at all? So I love this. It doesn't matter what the diagnosis is, the treatment is the same. If you get your fat-based hormones where they should be, your body can heal itself. In this book right here, Any Way You Can, she talks about her mom's battle with cancer. And there's a bunch of examples that she gives about how they went in to go have her mom's blood tested to see what her cancer levels were at. And ketosis alone was killing off the cancer. It was healing things. It's reducing the size. Hi, Julia. It's reducing the size of her lymph nodes. It's all of these things just by being in ketosis. If you get the body into an uninflamed state where it is in ketosis, it can heal itself. Now, what she says, and what the Cancer Center of America, whichever one it was that was like the big one, you have to be in ketosis before I'm even going to give you a prescription. Before we're even going to do chemotherapy, you have to be in ketosis for 2 weeks first, because they've seen how amazing it is that medications work better when you're in ketosis. I mean, like 1,000 times better, like the way they're supposed to work, the way that they're advertised to work. They actually works that way when you're in ketosis. See, it always gives me a pause when someone says you need blank. Fortunately, you can buy it from me. Yeah. The reason, and she actually talks about that with her ketones. The only reason that she made her own ketones, it's not to make money, because she has lost a lot of money on those ketones. Chemotherapy can be death, but for some people it's life. I mean, her mom, even in ketosis, the keto could only do so much, and they had to repeat the chemotherapy to kill off the cancer. And then she got like super healthy, and then it still was growing and coming back. I mean, for some people, chemotherapy is absolutely death, but for others, it can be life. So I think it depends on every situation. She is not a huge fan of, she doesn't want to make her own things. But every ketone supplement that she tried on the market at the time was subpar. They said, oh, it's going to give you blood ketone numbers of this. They would drink it, they would check, and no, there was no blood ketone numbers. And she was like, you're literally throwing away your money. So there was a lot of really fake products on the market at the time that she developed hers. So she developed it with the MCT C8C10 so that there would actually be a good product on the market, because she was like, I can't recommend ketones to people when they're all fake. She couldn't find a single one that was real. That's why she created her own blend. It wasn't to make money. It's because she knows the magic of ketones in a can, but she couldn't find one that she actually approved of. So she made her own. I'm part of the Dr. Boz community. There are crazy examples of what ketosis can do to inflammation. Like, I can tell you what ketosis can do for inflammation. I don't hurt right now. I've been in pain for months? Like verging on months. I don't hurt right now. I always hurt when I'm sitting at the thing. Yeah, so for her ketones, like, I'm okay with that. Blaze, I'm looking at the answer to your question right now. How long did it take me to listen to? Let me see. How long did it take me to listen to it? 8 hours and 2 minutes for Any Way You Can. And then Keto Continuum is in 2 parts. That one is longer. That one's like 13 hours, about 13 hours for the Keto Continuum. So 8 hours for Any Way You Can. What are the links for Dr. Boz? You can find her on bozmd.com. She's on YouTube. I did a YouTube video with her. You can go, I know there's somewhere else. I'm trying to think. I think she's on Instagram as well. She's on Instagram. Dr. Annette Bosworth, I believe, is what she is on Instagram. The MLM Huns were hawking it for sales only and did not. Yes, I don't know how many people have said, I tried ketones, they didn't work. And I'm like, that doesn't mean much. You have to try them and then check. Try and check. What are you doing about high fat when you don't have a gallbladder? So that just takes a little bit longer. There's actually a lot of people who do high fat with no gallbladder. Your gallbladder doesn't make bile. It concentrates bile. Your liver is what makes bile. So what your liver ends up doing when you don't have a gallbladder, your liver ends up making a little pocket where it can concentrate the bile. And it learns, it takes a lot of time, but it does learn eventually that when you eat a high-fat meal, it'll squeeze that pocket and it'll eject the bile into your digestive system the way it needs to. So your liver is the one that makes the bile. The gallbladder just concentrates it. So for someone that does not have a gallbladder, you're going to want to start slower. You're going to want to spread your food out. You're not going to want to eat one giant fatty meal. You're going to want to spread it out very slowly. And you're going to a little bit more. You may want digestive enzymes like HCl or apple cider vinegar. You could do some of those things to try to help with the digestion and breaking down. Ox bile can help as well too, because it's bile, but then it can help you break down some things and make it easier. It is very possible. It just takes time. It takes time for you to learn how to make enough bile and then squeeze it out. But if you're in ketosis, you learn a little bit easier. So your body can catch up really quickly. Yeah, I've had chemo in early 2017, not much help, but not death. OMAD is key for me along with the keto lifestyle. Yeah, they, in the book, they talk about the kind of the balance of, the keto plus the keto plus chemo. It just depends. It depends on what your situation is, what you're doing. Some people absolutely refuse chemo. And for those people, generally, it's not a life-threatening form of cancer. I have friends that did have life-threatening forms of cancer, and had they not gotten chemo, they would have died. There was no, let's wait for keto to work. It was like immediate, you're going to die. So I think every situation is completely different. Let me see. Oh, yes. And that is one of the things that Dr. Boz says. It says, your liver can make ketones. You should take them on a bad day. That's about it. In the beginning of going into ketosis, you can take your ketones then because it helps trigger your body to make more. It helps trigger your liver to actually make more. It's kind of a jumpstart program. If you're having a bad day, yes, you can take them. But Dr. Boz, in the beginning of starting your keto journey, if you have the ability and the desire, it can help get you out of keto flu a lot faster too, because you've got tons of fuel floating around that your cells can burn. So, but she does say 1,000 times over that what your liver can make, the ketones that your liver makes, are always going to be far superior to the ones you can drink from a can. Always. So do not think that you can still eat too high of protein, that you can still eat a standard American diet, drink some ketones, and that's compensation. That is not compensation. What your body does is going to be superior to what comes out of a lab. I tried to do higher fat and it makes me feel nauseous and I want to throw up at the same time. I crave it. It sucks. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you listen to or read this book any way you can by Dr. Annette Bosworth. You would not believe the amount of people who say, I can't do high fat because. She actually addresses a bunch of those here in the book. I can't do high fat because. Actually, we all need to do high fat. And generally, the people who say that they can't do high fat are the ones that need it the most. Because if you can't do high fat, then most likely you're not absorbing almost any of your fat-soluble vitamins and minerals and nutrients. So you actually need it more than almost anybody else. And that is where it's harder. It's a lot harder. And sometimes you have to go a lot slower in reducing, oh, my thing's going to die. I should plug that in, apparently. Give me a second. Okay. There we go. But yeah, so she talks about in any way you can, and she talks about it in Keto Continuum as well, about the fact that everybody, so what am I considering high fat? Wendy, it doesn't want to let your comment go up there. It wants me to approve it first. I'll show that. I'll share that. That was pretty funny. So what do I consider high fat? So Krista, for your macros, for Dr. Boz's method, this is not Amy's method. This is not something Amy came up with. This is a medical internal practitioner that came up with this. It was funny, Wendy. It was pretty funny. You want to do 20 total grams of carbs or less. And then for your protein actually has to be pretty darn low because protein also spikes insulin, which keeps you out of ketosis. So that you're going to do 1 gram per kilogram of body weight or less, not 1 gram per pound. You're going to do kilogram of ideal body weight. So take your weight in pounds, divide by 2.2. That number is your max for protein. So if you're only eating 20 grams of carbs and say 60 grams of protein, you're going to be hungry because people are addicted to carbs. Because there's carbs in eggs, because there's carbs in dairy. That's what the 20 carbs is for. So that, because if you say 0 carb, then people can't have dairy and they can't have eggs because they get a little crazy when you say 0 carbs. So the rest of your food, your nutrients has to come from fat. And she says time and time again, do not skimp on fat. If you're hungry, eat fat. No questions asked. If you're the tiniest bit hungry, do some coconut oil with some peppermint oil extract or peppermint extract in it. Freeze those, seal them into little gummy molds, pop those, eat those. Do the butter, the browned butter treats. Do those. Eat fat. I kid you not, people. It's working. And everyone says, oh yeah, if you just eat higher fat, you lose weight. For some people, the key is you have to reduce the protein down too. And that honestly has made all of the difference in the world for me. I watched my health go downhill when I started the higher protein. I discovered protein sparing modified fasting. I discovered all of this other stuff. Bye, Dave. I'm sorry. I went really long. I'm really, really sorry. But that is what made all the difference in the world for me, was getting rid of all that extra protein. I believe the extra protein brought on my extra 20 pounds. And it also brought on, it triggered my autoimmune conditions, which I've probably had my entire life. So Gloria said, what if someone has liver problems? It depends on how bad your liver is. But Dr. Boz makes the distinction that the only time you really have to worry about going into a ketogenic diet is if you have like stage 4 kidney disease. Then you have to work with your practitioner and let them know what you're doing, especially. Liver problems, that's exactly when you should be in ketosis, because autophagy is the process in which it's going to clean up your body. It's going to get rid of your excess skin. It's going to clean up your organs. And if your insulin is raised from carbs or protein, then it cannot get into the level of autophagy that it needs to be at. And thousands of her people are actually proving that every single day. Let me see. Yes. So if you have liver problems, you need this more than most people. Like, it will completely reverse. It takes a long, long time to reverse liver cirrhosis, but it is completely possible. You can have 10% of your liver and you can grow back the other 90% of it to a healthy liver. So it is very possible. Let me see. I'm so glad. Let me see. I have my blood work done every single month and can attest it does matter what you eat for a diseased body, help it rebuild healthy cells. Doctors are amazed at my progress. That's awesome. What if someone has liver? Okay. Disease-free, do you really need that much fat? No. If you are disease-free, you need enough fat to support your fat-based hormones. And that is going to be different for everybody. For some people, it's going to be more or less. Some people are going to be okay with the higher amounts of protein. Some people are even okay with the higher amounts of carbs. But every person is individual. But the goal is ketosis. How you get there makes a difference. I have not brought up the iodine supplementing to her. I was going to talk to her after she's done traveling. But right now, she's kind of doing like a teaching circuit. So she's very busy, and I don't want to throw a new conundrum into her midst right now, but I do plan on talking to her about it and sharing my experience. It's impossible for most people to get the amount of iodine that they need from food. Iodine's a whole different, that's a whole different thing. That book is right here. If you want to learn about that, that would be the Iodine Crisis. This is a fantastic one. Because our food, everything's so depleted. So I am going to talk to her about it. I just don't know when, because she's so super busy right now. Yes, and she does supplement D3 and K2 and electrolytes. There's my D3. That is my absolute favorite D3 in the world. It comes in peppermint or in regular. Comes in both of those. So this one works fantastically. I take 3 drops a night, and my vitamin D is like 82. So, because I live in Wisconsin. The sun has been hiding for days. Not much I can do about that. Okay, I've been on here absolutely forever. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I let you pick the topic. So I went off for an hour and 40 minutes almost. I'm sorry. But I'm just so passionate about finding what works and presenting all of the different avenues for everybody. So I don't know. Chrissy, I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how. I know nothing. So I want to continue to let you guys know that this could be an option for you. I'm not saying it's going to work for absolutely everybody, but it sure as heck is working for me. So come along with me if you want to. I can teach you. Come join me in the Mighty Network. I'm going to be talking a lot more about this. It's free. Every week this month on Thursdays, we're having a free meeting for anyone that can come so that you guys can learn more about this. I'm actually about to go let my team know 7:00 my time, where I'm going to let everybody know. Hi, this is what I'm doing now. And wow, is it working? So we're going to be talking a lot more about that. I'm going to make a ice cream. I'm going to make a bunch of stuff. So yeah, that's probably what I'll do tomorrow. Does Chronometer help figure out macros? No, actually they do. I'll have to do a Chronometer one. I'll have to do it. That's what I'm going to have to do. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic week, and hopefully I'll see you somewhere else. Facebook, YouTube, or Mighty Network. Bye, guys.